14:32 local time. A Ukrainian MiG-29 climbs skyward, carrying weapons that were never meant to hang under its wings. Beneath each pylon, an American GBU-62 JDMR, mounted on NATO ejector racks, wired together with voltage regulators and electrical tape. A Cold War relic, jury-rigged for a mission it was never designed to fly. In 15 minutes, this fighter will attempt the impossible, threading through the densest, most lethal air defense network on Earth, to deliver 1,000 pounds of GPS-guided democracy onto a Russian ammunition depot. But first, he has to survive the gauntlet. Cut fast, radar screen flashes to track mode, cockpit warning tone rising. And within seconds, he's been acquired. The S-400 search radar watching him suddenly shifts into tracking mode. The tone in his headset changes, from intermittent chirps to a steady, piercing warble. He's been painted. At this range, an S-400's 48N6 missile can reach him in just 62 seconds. Cockpit POV. Chaff deployment, metallic clouds bursting. He punches the chaff dispenser. Metallic clouds burst behind the MiG as he dives hard, trading altitude for speed. The S-400 lock breaks, its radar struggling through the bloom and rapid maneuver. But the chaff creates a new problem. Every passive sensor across 100 kilometers now sees him lit up. And soon, a roving Su-35 patrol vectors in from the northeast. HUD view, altitude dropping, airspeed climbing. The MiG plunges through 25,000 feet. Airspeed climbing past 600 knots. The S-400 lock is broken, but descending solves one problem and creates another. His radar warning receiver screams a new alert, Buk M3 acquisition radar, much closer, scanning in rapid bursts. He's dropped himself directly into its engagement envelope. Animation, Buk battery preparing to fire. The Buk M3 specializes in destroying aircraft between 15 and 30,000 feet, exactly where he just placed himself. And unlike the long-range S-400, which requires time to calculate an intercept, the Buk can launch in under 20 seconds. At this range, the clock is already ticking. Cockpit display, alignment bar creeping forward. But the dams demand time. Each bomb needs a full GPS satellite lock and position update before release, to achieve their advertised 5-meter accuracy. He steadies the jet at 20,000 feet, flying straight for 15 nerve-shredding seconds while the weapon's computers talk to space. The alignment bar creeps across his display, 40%, 60, 80. RWR tone shift, Su-35 lock. New contact. A Su-35. 60 kilometers out, closing at Mach 1.4. At this rate, the Russian fighter will be within our 77 missile range in 3 minutes. The GPS alignment finishes just as his missile approach warning system lights up. The Su-35's radar has shifted from search to track mode. Time to move. He banks hard right, then snaps into a reverse. An S-turn maneuver that forces the Buk operators to restart their firing solution. It works. But each defensive move burns precious fuel. The gauge already shows 200 kilograms above planned consumption. If this keeps up, he'll have to choose between completing the mission, and having enough fuel to make it home. Split screen, Su-35 HUD, map of SAM zones. The Su-35 pilot is no rookie. Instead of charging head-on, he calculates an intercept vector that will push the MiG toward the S-400 battery. A classic hammer and anvil technique. The Russian fighter herds him like prey, forcing the choice: turn away from the fighter and fly into the SAM, or evade the SAM and hand the fighter an easy shot. No good options. Satellite imagery glowing on cockpit screen. Target data glows on his display. Hours-old satellite imagery shows vehicle movements consistent with a major ammunition transfer. The 39th Guards are stockpiling for a push toward Popasna. This strike could cripple their offensive for weeks. But reaching the target means threading through overlapping SAM sites, with an Su-35 hunting him, and a fuel gauge already running red. Cockpit fuzzing, GPS signal jammed. And then, another hammer blow. Russian electronic warfare units flood the spectrum. GPS fuzzes to static. The JDMRS switched to backup INS mode. Accuracy degrades instantly, from 3 meters to 10. Against a hardened bunker, that's the difference between annihilation and $1 million crater in the dirt. Alarm, weapon fault code flashes. As if on cue, the MA-12 ejector racks throw a fault code. NATO standard bomb release mechanisms, jury-rigged for a Soviet jet. Ukrainian technicians had sworn the voltage regulators would hold. But combat has a way of finding every weak point. Without a reset, the bombs won't release at all. Resetting means shutting down his defensive suite for 30 seconds. No radar warning. No countermeasures. Flying blind. While a Su-35 closes in, and SAM operators sharpen their knives. Cockpit goes dark one by one. He starts the reset sequence. Displays go dark. The jamming suite powers down. And immediately, the battlefield responds. Without electronic noise masking its sensors, a Panzer battery suddenly sees him crystal clear. Its electro-optical system doesn't care about jamming. It sees heat. And the MiG's engines burn bright against the afternoon sky. Visual, missile launch streaks upward. 20 seconds into the reset, 257 times 10 to the power of 6 missiles claw upward. He spots them through his canopy, no warning tone, his RWR is still rebooting. He yanks the stick into his chest, rolls inverted, and slams into a defensive barrel roll. 7 Gs crush him into the seat as the MiG twists through the sky. The missiles detonate behind him, their proximity fuses tricked by his chaff cloud. He survives, but the price is fuel. Afterburners gulp 360 kilograms in 40 seconds of maximum performance. His gauge drops dangerously close to bingo, the bare minimum to reach friendly airspace. Systems reboot, cockpit green across board. His systems finally blink back online. The rack stabilizes, green lights across the board. Against all odds, the bombs are armed and ready. Miracles of Ukrainian ingenuity. 3 years ago, mounting American smart weapons on a Soviet fighter was fantasy. Now, it's daily reality. Data link update flashes on display. A new data link update arrives. Fresh imagery shows even more vehicles arriving at the depot. Elements of the 110th Guards have joined the 39th. 2 elite brigades, preparing for a major push. The strike's value has just doubled. But reaching the release point means threading through interlocking SAM zones while the Su-35 stalks from behind. The Russian pilot holds distance, smart enough to let ground defenses do the killing. Patient. Predatory. Waiting for the perfect shot. Fuel gauge, 2,400 kilograms, warning tone. As he closes the target, his fuel reads 2,400 kilograms. Just enough for a straight-line return. Any more maneuvering, and he'll be landing on fumes, if he makes it back at all. The bombs need to be released in the next 4 minutes, or the entire mission fails. Cut, Su-35 cockpit, radar mode shift. And that's when the Su-35 makes its move. 40 kilometers behind, the Russian switches to single-target track. The MiG's RWR screams, the distinctive tone of the N-035 Urbis radar in firing position. An R-77 will be in the air any second. The pilot brakes perpendicular to the threat, classic notching maneuver. At 90 degrees to the radar beam, his movement blends into ground clutter. The missile's Doppler radar can't tell him apart from the terrain. But this geometry takes him directly over a waiting Tor M2 battery. Electromagnetic silence breaks as its radar locks on. Now he's caught between converging fires, defend against the Su-35 behind, or eat the Tor's missiles from ahead. Cockpit dive, split S maneuver. He rolls inverted and pulls, a split S. In seconds, he trades 5,000 feet of altitude for a reverse heading, using terrain to break the Tor's line of sight. But diving costs fuel. Costs glide range for the dams. Every meter lost is 1 less kilometer of standoff. Flares burst behind jet. He dumps 60 flares. Burning magnesium scatters across the sky. It works, the Tor's optical trackers are blinded. But the Su-35's IRST filters through the flare cloud and locks on to the real heat source. Now the Russian has a passive track. No radar emissions. No warning of when the missile comes. Targeting pod flickering, blurred image of depot. He switches on the targeting pod. Soviet-era optics struggle against haze. The ammunition depot wavers, pixelated 80 kilometers away. But the dams don't need a perfect image. Just coordinates. The display shows 5 meters. Good enough. Weapon checklist overlay, missile launch from Su-35. Release checklist runs through his mind. GPS alignment, degraded but complete. Fuses, armed for delayed penetration. Release parameters, marginal at best. He holds course. 3 more seconds. Then, the Su-35 fires. An R-77 screams off the rails, accelerating past Mach 4. Impact in 58 seconds. Cockpit sweat, Tor launches visual. And the Tor battery joins the party. 2 missiles, staggered launch, converging intercept vectors. One forces him into a break, the other waits where physics dictates he'll end up. No way out. The target is still 70 kilometers ahead. Too far for release. Physics and geography are closing the noose. Decision time. Abort and survive empty-handed, or commit everything. He slams throttles to full afterburner, nose down 10 degrees, racing for release while death closes in from 3 directions. The R-77 goes active, its seeker head painting him independently. No more hiding. The missile knows exactly where he is. Cockpit shot, release button pressed, nothing happens. Time to release. He hits the button. Nothing happens. The first JDAM sticks. Voltage fault. Mechanical failure. Doesn't matter. The bomb won't drop. He cycles the button, hammering. Finally, he yanks the manual override. The rack groans, then releases. The bomb tumbles, wings snapping open mid-spin, GPS fighting to relock. The second JDAM releases clean. Both weapons are away. R-77 detonates near MiG's tail. The R-77 arrives. Its proximity fuse detonates near the tail, shredding hydraulic lines. The MiG shudders, but stays in the air. Diving for the deck, he dodges the Tor's missiles in ground clutter. But the price is altitude, fuel, and control authority. He's bleeding all 3. Cut, JDAM glide, GPS plus INS correction, closing on depot. The dams glide silently, switching to INS navigation, comparing terrain against stored maps. Despite jamming, they refine their path. At 14:53, the first JDAM slams into the depot. A 500-pound warhead detonates inside, and then the secondaries erupt. Artillery shells cook off in chain reactions. Rockets explode. Ammunition crackles like popcorn. A BTR-82 is hurled 50 meters by the blast. Windows shatter 5 kilometers away. Second JDAM strike, command post obliterated. 45 seconds later, the second JDAM vaporizes the command post. The coordination hub of the 39th and 110th Guard ceases to exist. Planning documents, communication gear, officers, all gone in a flash. 2 elite brigades thrown into chaos. The offensive dies before it begins. Closing shots, MiG limping home, trailing fluid, smoke column behind. The MiG limps home.